Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wandering In Webcomic 1 year anniversary stream. I see your guys' chats. I see everybody in here. Awesome, amazing. People spam the chat if you don't hear a voice because things are very wrong then. Awesome. I think we're good. I'm an unfamiliar voice. My name is Shantae. I'm your producer. I am the person who tackles timelines and schedules and meetings and things like this. Oh my goodness, pirateaba has appeared in chat. Woot! Okay. So, for people who are new here or people who are just coming to the recording, maybe in like 6 months' time or, maybe 3 hours later, they didn't get the notice. This is a 1 year anniversary to celebrate the webcomic adaptation of The Wandering Inn being released and available for a whole year now. Huge shout out to all of our Patreon supporters who make this happen and all of the amazing readers from The Wandering Inn web serial proper. For this, we're going to be doing a Q&A where we have the team available. We'll do a little intro session. We have a bunch of questions ready to go. Pirate will be answering and I will be reading out loud for them. Same thing for our inker ink trashing. And we also have Jade on the mic and we have Artsy on the mic. While we do this, Artsy is here. Amazing Artsy will be live drawing for you. A character from the Half Seekers has voted. Some of you are already guessing who this is. Of course, we need to do a little development before we just throw Artsy to the sharks, right? With that, I'll kick it over to my lovely art director over here, Jade. Jade, please introduce yourself to the lovely community here.
Hello, I'm Jade. I'm the art director and adapter for the series. Pardon me. And in the web serial, I'm only on book 6, so I rely heavily on fans who know a lot more than I do, especially Artsy. And a fun fact about me, I collect frog things.
Awesome! Give it up for Jade. Woo. With that, we'll launch right into Artsy, whom you all have met in some respect online and is an amazing person. Let's gas her up. She's here. She's drawing. It's Artsy.
Hello.
Woo.
I'm Artsy. I'm lead artist and penciler for this project. I was a bit confused by a fun fact about me. I don't have a fun fact other than I'm very nervous and my hands are very cold. So if anything goes wonky, I blame it on that.
Got it. No issue. No issue.
And I'm not quite caught up, but I'm like, I think 3 chapters behind right now. So
yes. I asked everybody to say where they were in the story. I didn't mention it for myself. I have just started book 13, but my husband, who is listening to the ebooks, started way later than me and has just started book 16. So it's a friendly competition between us, but it's safe to say he's winning. Someone who doesn't need to tell us if they're caught up in the story would be pirateaba. I will read out Pirate's answer for you all. I have, hey, it's me. I'm just some writer joining the fun. I don't do anything cool here. Just look at cool pictures. I'm just finished with Ghost Song in the Singer Tarandria series, and I'm waiting for the next book to come out. I wonder who has a hand in making that happen. Just curious. Our other person we have here is, we will refer to them likely a lot, Miru, so you will be confused a little bit. But our inker, amazing and talented, we have is Ink Trashing. We know them by Miru. And she's still reading book 1, very busy. But when not working, she likes drawing, making plushies, and trying different coffees. I'm always down for a good coffee recommendation. If you guys put a note of what your favorite coffees are, I would love to try them. We love espresso in our household. a lot of people submitted questions, and during this whole time, you're going to see Artsy drawing live. So please keep your attention on the amazing work that's happening. But to keep your ears entertained, we went through the Q&As that everybody submitted, and a huge, huge thank you for everybody for doing so. There was, some questions that people tended to, want to know that were repeated. So no shout out to an individual, and we kind of had to like hybridize them into one singular way. So I'm sorry if it's not the way you asked, but if you ask these questions, it's probably related to that, just not your exact wording. So to dive right into the questions, we have a lot of them regarding on how the team would be able to catch up to the story. I'm going to answer from a production standpoint and just from a reader standpoint from this. The truth is, it's probably improbable. Pirate just writes far too quickly and is still writing the series. How can we catch up with a goalpost that's still moving? If I were to say it from the sense of the audiobooks and the ebooks being a really good reference for that, there are only 17 of those out still, and we're still working on book 1. So to that end, probably not going to be something we catch up with, but we'll do our best to get as far as we can, as quickly as we can. Related to that topic, we also have people who were asking about whether or not we would split the workload across more artists or across more point of views for the comic. It's kind of tying into that a little bit, where it's a little too early for us to determine, and we want to celebrate where we are right now, which is like huge, right? There's no question about it. We're super grateful to have the support that we have in only a year. If you check out this cool thing called Graphtreon, it like tracks where you are in Patreon based off of where you are. We're in like the top 80 people who create comics on Patreon. That's like when you look at people who have been on there for like 6 years, we are killing it. And that's huge thank yous to our Patreon people who do that. When we look on how we might be able to change things as we go, we need to see how the future plays out and see how the production support continues to grow, so that, pirateaba, who is like executive producer of this, how we could possibly even consider to bring in more investment or otherwise to split out different things, like bring in more team members, bring in different, timelines and tracking different products if we're going to have different POVs. So for now, tied up into how we can do that, maybe we can explore when we get to such a place. But for now, we're just eager to keep growing and keep going at the pace that we're at with the amazing people that we have here. And I know that our colorist wasn't able to join, neither were our letterer. They are also super amazing. I want to give them their flowers. They are super great people to work with, and they are just giving you guys some of the best possible work they could produce. Again, people want to know how far we are planning to adapt. Same kind of answer as the last one. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be, vague by any means. It's just, even when you do things like TV shows, you think, oh yeah, we're going to set ourselves up for another season. But until that next season is booked, you never know. So we're still learning our production, and we're considering this as we'd love to do all of it if we can. Emphasis on the if we can. Little Onion, we can't roboticize ourselves. We have a strict no AI art policy. It's very important. And I think brain uploads might count in that. Now, going to our next one would be, will any characters be cut from the story in the future? We could take a real quick, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you read this story, people are going to be dying. So, those could count as cuts, technically, if we want to get real nitty gritty. However, in terms of whether or not we're going to cut other material, we'll have to see where we are in the books and see how things go, or if things get split into different areas. No exact plans on that per se at the moment, but if you're new to the Wandering Inn, let me just rip the Band-Aid off now. People die sometimes. That's just how it is. It's comfy cozy, but it's also got to have the extremes on the other end to make sure that the comfy cozy really feels in it. You got to have the bad to have the good. Otherwise, it's all just the same. Okay, here's a fun question. What does the concept work for a character usually look like, especially for those with less descriptors? Are you inspired by the fan works of other posts? I thought this is the perfect question to kick over to Artsy, who is chief responsible for this. Our chief lead artist knows these characters in and out and brings them to life. Artsy, let us know.
So first, when I start on a character design, the least amount of time is spent drawing them, but actually just looking at what's already written about them, just gathering information, where are they in the story, what's important about them, where are they coming from. And big shout out to the wiki warriors who update the wiki page, because that's the number one point I go to, just to get the overview, to get a feeling if a character isn't just quite as fresh in my mind, because it was a minor character that didn't, I don't know, appeared some volumes back. So that's always a good place to start. And then I do some reading and gather some references just from the image that forms, or the feeling I get from the character. Shante, can I show the others? Should I just flip a bit to the others via talk?
Let's flip to one of them. Let's spread them out throughout the live stream.
Yep.
Let's show somebody. So for people who don't know, we did a little poll on the Patreon to see who would come to life first. And the votes came in to do the half seekers for an entire party. And I'm waiting for the first comment to see who says who it is. If not, Artsy is just going to shout it out.
Looking at the comments. Yes!
Yeah, you're Onion Little. Yes, it's Jelliqua.
Yeah, I guess technically there's a name. I don't know if you can even see this. It's pretty small, I guess.
But yeah, the typical setup, we need to be able to make sure that everybody's got enough reference for it. So this is a great idea of what we kind of like to do.
Yeah, so after doing all the legwork before and lots of imagining, and then I just start drawing them from how I think they should look, how they feel. Most of the time when I do character designs, it's about feeling, how they seem to me. They should look like, how the backstory informs a lot of their design. What would they need in their day-to-day lives? What is equipment they have? And every time I'm not sure how to go about this, if the image isn't very clear, I just ask Pirate, like, okay, I have this character design. Is this what you imagined, or is this working for you? And do you have any strong opinion about this? And then I get a feedback on that, and then I can keep working.
Yeah, got a direct connection to the source. It's really great. Pirate, in case anyone's missing chatter, they're visually impaired, just to make sure everybody gets it. Pirate goes, I always have opinions, not necessarily good ones. I think a lot of people might agree here that they're pretty good opinions the vast majority of the time. Nobody can hit 100 all the time. A little zoom in. Somebody commented a pretty funny one that was highlighted to us. That's Jelliqua and Jelliqua's outfit. And Jelliqua's outfit. So fun work. I'll line this into our next question. Which species is the most challenging to draw and adapt into a webcomic? And how do the final designs for each race get decided? So Artsy kind of went a little bit into that, but Artsy, why don't you dive into the most challenging to draw and adapt aspect of this?
I mean, challenging is, they're all kind of challenging because I was mostly used to drawing human characters. So everything that goes into different species, they all have their own challenges, especially when you look at drake faces or null faces. have the same amount of emotions on the faces? How would they express their or how would the expressions look? Like with drakes, they have very wide mouths, or like this Reska body Jelacqua is wearing. They have very wide mouths. So how do they look when they kind of pout? How far does the mouth go? And where can I cheat a bit? Stuff like that. That's always challenging. And also just the amount of details. Like knights and warriors are always more challenging because they have just so many small details. But I think once the design is set and we have the sign of approval from Pirate, then from my perspective, they are kind of the same amount of challenging. But yeah, I know Miro or Inkfreshing has a very specific challenge.
Well, I'll read in Miro's response to this question. Drakes so far are the most time-consuming to ink, since they require the most detail work with their teeth, spikes, scales. And similar to what you mentioned, Artsy, on a semi-related note, horses are always horribly difficult to draw, maybe more than humanoid species. So we don't have any horse-headed people. We're good for the moment. Jade, why don't you let us know species that are most challenging to adapt into the webcomic?
So I benefit greatly from not actually needing to draw any details when I do the adaptation. For me, the challenge is more body language and sketching out kind of how to show what the characters are thinking in the panels and fitting them in so you can see them and enjoy the beautiful art. So I think for me, the most challenging is the Antinium because they don't have any movable facial features. So getting any kind of emotion or internal thought process across can be very challenging. The art team does an amazing job of really locking that in. And so I rely heavily on them. But yeah, for the adaptation piece, as I'm sure you've seen the roughs, they are pretty straightforward. And so it's all about like antennae and head tilt and arm position and all that kind of stuff. And then Artsy will get the gist of what I'm trying to communicate, and she'll add on her own layers on top of that as well.
Gorgeous. Okay, next one. Leaning into the emotions that we're kind of going over. How did you decide to capture Aaron's wonder, and why did you settle on what you did? Let's start with Jade from the roughs perspective, and then we'll go into the pencil artwork perspective with Artsy.
So I actually also had a bit of a head start on this. Artsy did a bunch of preliminary work at the very, very beginning, and she obviously knows the characters inside and out. And so I really relied on her characterization, especially of Aaron, and just riffed off of that and continued to carry that forward with the rest of the series. The specific moments of wonder, like when Aaron is reacting to seeing magic, those are a little bit of me interpreting Artsy's interpretation of Aaron, and then Artsy adding on top of that like the little sparkles and stuff. And then our colorist Abby started the trend of kind of using colors to imply certain emotions. So we've kind of jumped on that and ran with like everybody has added a little piece to this that we've started to carry through, and it kind of gels together.
Awesome. Artsy, how did you decide to capture Aaron's wonder?
So does this question mean the way when she reacts to wonder a magic, or is it about the wonder that is Aaron's solstice?
Leave it up to your
Um,
discretion.
Then I go for Aaron because Jade already answered the other part. Yeah, I think it helps to have a lot of background knowledge by now of Aaron. Just stuff that got revealed further in the series that helps understand her layers a bit more. So I always try to think about the underlying things when I draw her expressions. Like, of course, on one side, she's this girl from another world that just got transported, and she's very helpless and overwhelmed in the beginning. But also, there's always this underlying layer of she's able to do this, and I hope that the glimpses through. So she's just like a little onion with layers, and having all of them in the back of my mind when I draw them, and trying to show which, and deciding which layer to show at the point. I think that's a tough one, and feel a lot of it goes, just by feeling and having feedback if pirateaba sees anything out of place, then we get told. But so far, I think we're doing an okay job, I hope.
Beautiful. I always think the whole team is doing a great job. And to say that it's like onions and has so many layers is also related to how it's like pirateaba's work. Both evoke tears. Okay. We'll go into our next question. What products or ideas have you wanted to pursue that just haven't been feasible? Let's also take this from the angle of it's anything you could do right now if resources like time, budget, or manpower were not a factor for both you working for the story and any of like your personal creative endeavors. I'll start with reading out our answer from Ink Trashing or Miru, as I know them. And that would be, for TWI, I haven't had the time yet, but ideally I'd like to do a better job of compiling reference sheets and notes for myself so I can better track the continuity of small details, like, for example, the exact shape and number of partitions to armor pieces, etc. Personally, I wish I had more time and energy to work on my own projects. That's like everyone's goal always. Jade, what about you?
Yeah. Also, wish I had more time and energy for personal projects. I have a graphic novel that's been on hiatus for a while, and a million other projects I'd like to work on. If manpower and if there were no limits, then we just keep adapting more and more TWI. That would be awesome.
Awesome. Artsy, what about you?
Yeah, if I had the time to do more TWI projects, I would love to do some storybooks of a character, or not of a character, but a character mentioned kind of offhandedly pretty late in the series, about romances he experienced in his life, and just single sentences like, and I immediately thought, oh man, I wish there wasn't just one sentence. I want this whole story, and I want to have a whole book with big illustrations in them, and that was something I would like to draw. But comic comes first, and if we ever want to finish volume 1,
Yeah, it would be amazing. I see a comment saying, yes, Ink Trashing was the one who also helped with our recent crossover project. You are correct. They did an amazing job with that. Super, super fun. Getting to work with 2 authors on a project was also great from a production standpoint. Getting both of their input was amazing. Before I get distracted, though, we also have Pirate's answer to our question. So they would love to translate the Wandering Inn into other languages and do video games, animations, more comics of the other sides of stories, If I just had another me, I'd just write more stories, not just TWI. I'm sure everyone here would love that. Okay, this was a question we had from a few different people. Have you considered tackling a map yet? Will we get to see a world map next year? So that would be 2026 for whomever is coming into this live at a future date. I'll answer this from a production standpoint. There definitely has been some work done in this department, such as the map of list score is one thing that you guys have been able to see. We can't make any promises on any releases, but I can say that this kind of work and world building has been part of this development, and it will come. I won't promise when, but it will come. Next question. How difficult have you felt drawing the various locations to life from the web novel? Do you feel like it's been difficult trying to maintain accuracy? Jade, why don't you go from like the adaptation standpoint in the roughs?
Yeah. Again, fortunately, I get to be pretty loose with layouts because Artsy and Miru do a lot of the hard work to lock in details. So I try to keep the shapes big, but I do have a pretty clear idea in my head of what we would see from any direction. But we also rely on 3D models to help with that. And then Artsy also has a great idea of what the world should look like. So it's a combination, team effort. We use some technology to help us with some of the more, for some of the sets that we are in a lot, like the inn. But as far as big picture world goes, so far we've just been in and around list score. And, mountains can move and shift and and it doesn't really affect the overall enjoyment of the comic. So, yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Artsy? What about the locations and bringing life to the web novel? What's been difficult to maintain accuracy?
Yes, everything. No, I'm not big on locations, so that was definitely challenging. Every time there's architecture, I'm like, I got this, I can do this. And then Miru comes in and saves the day, cleaning everything up. Also, big shout out to Antinium, who's done a lot of visual development for the places for Wandering in general, which we tend to riff off, just a bit simplified for the comic, because Antinium's work is very detailed and beautiful to look at, but not sustainable to draw a lot of panels from. But yeah, having a 3D model for the inn, that was such a life changer and such a good idea. That helped a lot. And yeah,
it's been super
checking
great.
A lot.
Moving into that, let's do a little bit more lighthearted one. What are the team's favorite songs to listen to while working, or any other ambientation thingy? This person made me learn a word, so good job, guys. I'll answer for me first. I particularly love to either get some nice lo-fi in or put on a medical drama that I can half listen to, and then there's 5 minutes of a lot of drama and a lot of blood and a lot of tears. And then I just get right back to work. Let's do Miru's answer. They say, I mostly listen to video essays while I work. Music-wise, though, I listen to a lot of synthwave, ambient electronic, and Vocaloid songs. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Carpenter Brute, Kashiwa Daisuke, and Seodu for a lot of respective genres. My sincere apologies for the botched pronunciation. And Pirate has snuck in a quick answer. Let me answer it. I listen to either ambient music, like 1 hour of classical / horror music, or I just do pop songs or Disney. I wrote a chapter while listening to Winnie the Pooh because I was too focused to change one time. What about you, Artsy? What do you listen to or have going on in the background while you go, aside from a live stream while you draw?
No, it changes all the time. Yeah, sometimes I just put the chapters of the Moon Ring in a text-to-speech, terrible computer voice, so I can make headway while I work, and listen to that. Or when I start with a scene, then I try to listen to the audiobook of the scene. But of course, I need much more time to draw than which is probably like 3 minutes of the audiobook. Yeah, other than podcasts, true crime podcasts, I like to listen to some music. Florence and the Machine, the latest album was a great listen. So yeah, changes all the time.
Awesome. I mean, that's the thing, right? Variety is the spice of life. Are there any characters in particular you guys specifically look forward to drawing? Artsy, you're the first person to answer this and the best person to answer this.
I mean, in the realistic future, I'm very much looking forward to Lism and Kashaya, just because they're fun. In the not so realistic future, I want to draw Namtang. I don't know if I can ever draw Namtang. So yeah,
I'm sure we'll make it so you can draw Numtung. I'm very sure the world will make that a possibility. Jade, what about you? Any characters that you're looking in particular to bringing to your roughs?
Oh, for sure, Skinner. I've been really looking forward to getting to that someday. Also, yeah, that's probably a while out. But yeah, that's at the top of my list. I do love a big horror monster.
I have seen your other work, and I agree. You do love that. Not my favorite, but I know you do, and I know that there will be a lot of pages where I just kind of have to half look at the screen for a long time. Miru, for their answer, is I have to be honest. Pisces is exactly the type of character I like drawing for my personal work, so I'm very excited for him. His hair especially has a very fun texture to ink. Can't wait for you all to see that. Don't spoil it to people who don't know yet, but when you guys get to enjoy it, it'll be a fun time. I put myself there, but I don't draw. I guess I'm just excited to see some people come to life. For people who don't know this fact about me, I love dragons. Dragons are just my number one thing. So I'm very much looking forward to more dragons and some of the old blood drakes coming in. That will just be a super fun time for me. It'd be great to look at. What moment are you most looking forward to adapting? Spoilers beware. So I say that in the sense of it's going to be super dramatic and super like life-changing. Maybe don't mention it for somebody, but assume that most people here have at least finished to a decent point. What I would say. Artsy, aside from Numtung, what moments are you looking forward to adapting?
The moments and I'm looking forward to the most are also pretty far in the future. So yeah, I think my most the favorite thing I would like to draw at some point when I'm very wrinkly would be Aaron meeting the Red Ring 5, the florist, and also Aaron talking about people being people. I don't know. Who knows what scene I mean.
What about you, Jade? Aside from just Skinner, what moment are you excited to do?
The whole thing with Skinner.
You're allowed to say it.
No, I am really looking forward to that. That's going to be a huge, like multi-pages situation. But I think closer to where we are currently in the webcomic, I'm really looking forward to the immortal moment. I think there's a lot of really interesting opportunity for the visualization of that. So yeah, I think that'll be really, really fun to adapt and also beautiful in the final product.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think you both kind of toned in some really emotional moments. I think those will be really, really nice to draw on, and some of the best parts that we do. I think in the current work that we've looked at, that is available for everybody, I particularly love Erin when she is having her moment where she's thinking about how she's going to move forward, and she has her internal chess game going on, and we have those glowing effects, and those are the moments that I'm really excited to see how we could bring the very, very emotional scenes with peace or with raw emotion or anger or fear. Those are when I get to see these artists dial things to 11 and really have an amazing time to showcase their work. What are your biggest inspirations as artists? Jade, why don't you just start us off?
I don't have names off the top of my head, but I watch a lot of television and cartoons and movies, and I read a lot of comics and read a lot of books. And as any artist will surely agree, you kind of start to draw pieces from your favorite creators and your favorite IPs and such. So, yeah, for the Wandering Inn, I would say like anime is a big influence, and comics generally. I have a film and television background, so I try to bring in those cinematic moments with the camera angles and the character positions and stuff like that. So as far as this goes, that's kind of where that's coming from. Yeah.
Artsy, what about you? What is your biggest inspiration as an artist?
As an artist, I think the most inspiration comes from music for me. That's the one thing that always ignites something that I want to draw. Style-wise, my biggest influences growing up were Hiroaki Samura, artist of Blade of the Immortal, and I don't know. I don't know what's the English name for this was.
Well, maybe there's some non-English speakers here. Give it a go. Just say it raw. People will figure it out.
No, it was called Blade of the Immortal here, but I'm pretty sure it was called a different thing in the States. But yeah, Hiroaki Samura and Inoue Takehiko, the guy who drew Vagabond. Like, that's just beautiful. So that was big inspiration when I was a teenager, and I tried to reach this, and I just couldn't. And then somehow my own thing developed out of it.
Well, your thing is very good, and now a whole comic is developing out of your work. So kudos. I'll read out Miru's answer. I look up to a lot of manga artists, but I've probably been most influenced by Yasuhiro Naitao and Miwa Shiro. So again, my apologies. Names are not my strong suit. There's many a funny story I could say on that, but names are not the best thing for me. Pirate also responded, Terry Pratchett for writers, along with other greats like Tamara Pierce or Robert Jordan, and many video games and stories. It's kind of like how everything you interact with tends to show up in your work in one way or another. Like even if you're just thinking about how your day went, it somehow that influences what's going on. Was settling on a design for the Drakes and Antinium difficult? Jade, let's start with you, and then Artsy can answer and maybe show us another character from the Half-Seekers.
Yeah, I kind of talked about this earlier with the Antinium being the most difficult species for me to do in the adaptation. But I didn't design them. We got lots of information from Pirate, and Artsy kind of came up with Artsy came up with the designs we use in the comic. And yeah, so I just ran with those. And yeah, I really didn't have anything to do with it.
Awesome. Artsy.
Yeah. The Antinium, yeah, we're quite tough. Because there's the descriptions kind of change when you started early on, and then they kind of solidified later on. Like there was this discussion about would they have this big butt appendix kind of thing, or do they have this back shell, and then okay, it's a back shell. And I know a lot of people are like, wait, they don't look like ants, they look like roaches or something. Oh yeah, it's kind of like it's just one part of how Antinium can look, and there are many other forms. So there are more designs to come sometime, but they can look very different. And the for me, it was important to still make them kind of cute, because the workers are in itself. I don't want to spoil anything, but I wanted them to be cute. So
Okay. You wanted to be cute.
so I made them kind of the round faces with the big round eyes, and just try to implement these things for their expression, like how they move their mandibles, and try to convey, even with a very alien and limited tool set for the expression, to still convey that they have these emotions and they are kind of cute. And yeah, just a lot of talking with Pirate about this. So that was a lot of back and forth.
Well, why don't we show someone that you had to do some back and forth?
Oh yeah. There was the Drake question.
Uline, yes.
Yeah. Drakes.
I am a huge fan of a purple-yellow combo, so I don't know who you are yet, Uline, but I already like you. Ugh, just loving these. So much color, so much fun. Yes, Onion.
I think for the Drakes, I think the biggest question was, do they walk on the flat foot like a human, or do they walk around on their tippy toes like most species that have a tail? So I kind of decided they have a tail, they should be on the tippy toes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Uline. You are correct. DRD Jaff 1003. I'm so sorry. Moving on to our next question. Oh, go, Artsy, yeah?
Just a small thing. Just because I was looking Jelaqua and Uline, and yeah, cephals are challenging to draw, because they change bodies and they still have to be recognizable. So for this, I just decided to have them always have the same kind of eyes. So you have to deal with this. That's how you can tell them apart.
That's how we're going to tell them apart. And just like wardrobes, we're going to have many bodies for these folks. We'll see how it goes. Let's dig into something with our art director for a moment. Since a comic is a different, if related, medium to prose, there's going to be changes required for the adaptation. What's the process look like for choosing are one-to-one with the serial, and which ones need to be condensed?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It really varies in the moment. So I have printed off the serial, really tiny font, because it is quite long. And then because I like to work in pencil for the thumbnails, then I go to town and read a chunk, picture it in my head, draw quick little thumbnails, or even just single panels of rough character positions and camera angles and such. But while I'm doing that, I'm kind of in the moment while I'm doing that, deciding what to cut or what to focus on. One of the big challenges with comics is every time a person talks, it takes up physical, literal space on the page. So there's a lot of conversations that have to be heavily edited or cut completely, or some combination of cutting and editing. So the challenge for me is trying to maintain the spirit of the conversation, to convey to the reader all the important information, and also not to cut important information when I may not know what is important or not yet. So I rely on Pirate for that. And sometimes Pirate has done little rewrites to help with the flow for the comic. Yeah, so it's a live process while I'm working on the thumbnails, because I think the conversations are one of the most challenging parts. But the one-to-one, sometimes, because there's moments also in the comic that are kind of lyrical, or what's another good word? Like kind of described in more of a dreamlike, as opposed to like, so-and-so walks between the table and the chair. That's very clear, but sometimes it's described more as like what the characters are feeling, and the specifics are less clear. So there is, in comics, you can do that lack of clarity. It's just not the style we have for this webcomic. So part of what I do also is clarify certain things. And sometimes there will be, even in an action sequence, there might be a moment where there's something happening that flows really, really well with the prose, but in the comic, it may add like a whole extra page, because I have to very clearly show every single action. And each action usually takes a minimum of 3 panels to convey clearly. So yeah, it's a lot of trying to keep things really clear for the comic, and also not take like 20 pages for one conversation or one action sequence. So that's where I'm at when I'm doing the adaptation. But I do try really hard to maintain the spirit of the story. And of course, Pirate reads all of the roughs before we go into production. And so sometimes they have edits, and we adjust things as needed. But yeah, that's the general kind of process. And yeah, so the one-to-one, sometimes it is exactly one-to-one, and sometimes it's a little more vague. I will say for the part of the comic we're in right now, we are sticking a little more one-to-one, because there is a lot of information and the vibes have to be established kind of before we can launch Aaron off into more adventures.
Amazing. I've also got Pirate's 2 cents here. A picture is sometimes 1,000 words. Take Aaron's chess visualizations, for example. I'm fine with cutting things because visuals is a different medium. The challenge of choosing is where I appreciate Jade's work immensely. It really is.
Oh, thanks.
We are nearing our hour, so I'm going to prioritize some other questions here. Let me find one here that a lot of people asked. Yes, there were more than a few of you who asked if there are plans for a physical print copy of the webcomic. Answer, we'd love to do one. It just has to become viable first. Print has a whole other slew of production hurdles that we need to cross to get to that point. Though we have to make clear that when we would get to such a point, we would always commit that our early access Patreons, like our regular visitors, our chaos enjoyers, our garden guests, shout out to them, they will always get to see that work that they have helped build with their support before anyone else, including like a print book. And there is a very limited amount of an ARC available, which is the first 5 chapters. Some of those have been gifted as prizes. Some of those are out to the team. Those are the only existing prints of this. So that would be when we get to such a point that we could play with something similar to that. This is a fun one. Artsy, we'll start with you. Artsy, how did it feel when Paba slid into your DMs with the offer? I will open up this question to everyone to see what their initial thoughts were when being asked to work on the production. But Artsy, you had a more personal experience, so give us your take.
Disbelief. Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I did some one-off small commissions for Pirate before, so I wasn't that surprised to see the DM popping up, and then there was sitting there, little goblin on the way. And Pirate asked me, "Hey, do you want to do a webcomic?" I was like, what? Yeah, pretty surreal. My favorite author asking me to do a long-running project that would pretty much never run out of content.
Yes. That lines up. I will answer for Miru's because that's a pretty good takeaway into that. Miru, reminder, is ink trashing our inker. It was honestly pretty surprising. I usually work on smaller scale projects, so being offered a position on such a long-term project required me to think the matter over for a bit. But it's been a pleasure working with everyone so far. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Jade, why don't you give your answer? Because you've been around longer than a lot of us.
Yeah, so long, in fact, that I don't exactly remember. Yeah, I had done a little bit of the adaptation work for The Last Tide, and so that was a pretty natural. Yeah, I already had kind of a established point of contact with pirateaba through that. So yeah, it was obviously such a cool opportunity, and I was really excited to receive the offer and everything. Yeah, but I don't have any specifics of what I felt in the moment because it was a while ago.
Yeah. I'll answer for myself. Reminder, there was a couple of people thinking that I was pirateaba. No, I am Shantae. I am the producer. I got brought in when the production was kind of getting going, and someone was like, "We need someone to help organize stuff." And I got referred into the position, and it was at the time I was working in visual effects, and that was right when the SAG strike was happening, for people who are aware. So the VFX industry was getting slim; it was getting a little bit more difficult. And then I got told, "Hey, why don't you try this position? We're helping out some creatives going about this adaptation into a comic." And I was like, "Great. Let's jump right into this. Let's get this sorted." And it was really a pleasure to be able to get brought in and help such amazing, talented people and meet some people that I think are very close now that are great to work with and keep going on this. It's been a wonderful journey. I've got Pirate weighing in on their view of how they have enjoyed recruiting. I've greatly enjoyed working with people who have the ability to do things I can't. I find it's a sign I'm working with someone awesome if I envy their abilities and wish I could do whatever they do. I write something out and they can turn it into pictures. It's great. And everyone works super hard. I can attest to this. I am definitely the person who unfortunately has to be the one that pushes when things need to be done. But at the same time, I'm always someone who says, but tell me when something is not realistic, because you guys are the creatives. So with what I'm imagining is harder than what I'm imagining, please tell me so I can correct that. We're getting near the end of stream here. I think it's maybe about time that we show everybody more. What about you, Jade? Or I mean, Artsy. Jade, you can weigh in too, but Artsy's the one who's got the slides.
Yeah, I think it's great.
A lovely, gentle giant. So much greenery, so much lovely. More. Yes, bookcase. They're not slides. They are different files. My apologies. I speak corporate. But we bring you more for your enjoyment. While you admire that, I'll run into another question. Let's see. Here's a good one. What was a challenge you didn't expect in the process? I'll start with Miru's answer. The pacing of TWI webcomic is rather different from what I'm used to working on. So it took me a little bit to get used to the page and panel density. Yes, from a production standpoint, there is a lot that gets put into these. We're not quite a comic and we're not quite a graphic novel because we're not in the amount of book that you would do, but we're certainly at a quality that really gets to be admired from a lot of people, and to shout out to the artists for working so hard to make that happen. Artsy, what do you think has been something you haven't expected along this adaptation journey?
Mm. Wow. I think I didn't expect to be that would be so hard to let some pages go and accept that they're just pages and not the greatest pages that they ever were, and carry all the wonder that I feel for the Wandering Inn, and just having pages that are just pages that work for what it is, and always trying to capture it on the next page. I think that's that was harder than I thought it would be.
I definitely understand that, but I also know that when we're in our meetings, I'm usually the one between Jade and Artsy, and I say, let it go. Let it go. We need to do other things. Let it go. But to be fair, if ever there was anything that somebody had to put their foot down on it, it got fixed. There's lots of things, lots of fun things that have been done. Let's read out Pirate's answer. Frankly, it was realizing that we needed a full team to do this. Comic outlining is something I cannot do. Jade and Shantae were huge reliefs because I had no knowledge of how to coordinate a production or that comic. Well, I am so glad that I am a relief. I'm so glad. But it is truth. Like, I cannot do half the creative things that these people do here. And to work with them and get their creativity to be part of this is just amazing. Let's see here, because we're nearing our hour. We'll do this one. Did drawing the characters make you think about them from a different perspective or view them in a new way? I'll read out Pirate answers first. Not usually. Artsy has the uncanny ability to sometimes beam a character out of my head and onto the page. Aaron and Relk were like 100% right, for instance. Mostly it's me not realizing I fully visualized a character and appreciating the details. I think in text, feelings and images are more limited. Yes. What about you, Artsy? Did drawing anybody change your view on them? Different perspective?
It definitely made me think more about them. Like I said, because I have to do a bit more of a deep dive to create the character. But also, I have a bit of aphantasia going, so sometimes I have to. Or the way I started drawing Wandering in fan art was just me thinking, okay, how do these characters look like? Because sometimes I have to just draw them so I can see them, because I can't envision them in my own head. And then I'm kind of surprised at what turns out on the page, and I'm like, oh yeah, this works. And then I just decide, is this fine or not? And so drawing them actually makes them appear in my mind where I couldn't see them before.
Nice. What about you, Jade?
I don't do the final drawings, of course, but for the roughs, I think it's really made me appreciate Pirate's writing and how clearly each character, or how each character very clearly has their own personality and the way they stand and what they do with their hands, and the characters are so alive on the page that transferring them into a comic is relatively easy, because like Hildkitch and Relk act totally different, and so it's easy to decide like what their hand positions should be, or the way they tilt their head, or whatever, as an example. So yeah, that's been a really fun and interesting experience for me.
So good. We had so many questions. We're not going to be able to get through them, but I'm going to wrap us up with our last question that was kind of a repeated one, which I know everyone is always eager to ask. When can I expect a physical copy of The Wandering Inn to be available, and what can I do to help? Well, it really comes down to pirateaba, but we know that they are trying to do their best to make it a reality. So much stuff happens behind the scenes. Really, we'd say the best way to be able to help is twofold. First, be ready to heed the call. We're sure that once something can be shared, Pirate will shout it from the rooftops. And when that happens, we all need to be ready to either pre-order, get our libraries to request copies, go to your local bookstore, tell them that people want this. Make sure that everybody knows the demand is out there, because there's corporate things out there that will make things live or die based off of how they think a market's going to respond. The other thing you can do is just keep sharing your love for the series with friends, family, your community at large. Share this with somebody that you're talking to on the bus. Share this with your friends. If you're able to, give a follow on social media apps, shout people out whether you see them on socials. It's really helpful for Pirate to show that they do have the audience that they have. A lot of these big corporations nowadays, they do look at, where do you have your presence standing? Where are people responding to you? Where is your audience? So to be able to help make such things a reality, showing people that the demand is there. We know Pirate hears from y'all. I see the comments. I lurk in Discord chat. We know what you want. We just have to make sure that everyone knows as soon as it's possible that it will go through. I think this is where we're going to close up our stream. I'm going to open up for any final comments from Artsy, Jade, Pirate. Anybody, let me know. But personally, production. My name is Shantae again, not Pirate. It's been super great to chat with everybody here, and just so wonderful to finally get to interact with you all and let you see some of the magic that I get to see with these amazing creatives when they are submitting their pages and seeing all of the hard work they do come to life, including 3 different outfits for Seaborn and a fully drawn out character. We'll get a colored version out to you guys everywhere, back on Patreon when it's ready to go. I saw also a few people asking about where to get access to some of the ARG images that were released. Those are vast majority available on Patreon. So they were available through the ARG, but now we're keeping those lovely behind the scenes items for the people who are helping make this a reality. So please join us there. Jade, any closing comments?
Just to, really, Pirate said it as well. Applause to the whole team. The artists we have on this are amazing. Artsy, Miru, Abby, and Kiela. And so huge shout out to them.
Artsy, any final comments?
Yeah, thank you for everyone who makes this possible and keeps making this possible. I wouldn't have dreamed to be able to work on this series that I love so much. And it's all thanks to you, to Pirate, to everyone who supports this on Patreon, and to the amazing team. So I can just draw the rough pencils, and wonderful Miru is making this look everything so shiny and beautiful. And then we're having such beautiful color with Abby and Christy. And thank you for everyone who's part of this. And I hope you stay on the ride, and looking forward to all the things that come.
Couldn't say it better. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will keep things going. Check out our Patreon for more things. We'll have lots of stuff going up. December is more content this month as we're celebrating our 1 year. And we'll get some images of the characters that we saw today out on Patreon for everybody here. But the stream will be available to everybody to help celebrate our 1 year of being able to join all of you on this amazing quest of adapting The Wandering Inn to a webcomic. Thank you all so much. Have a great time and a great end of your year.